people? Welcome. It is Cash Media. I'm back at it again. Right. It is a wonderful Tuesday afternoon. We got game three commencing starting tomorrow. First game in Miami. Right. Series is tied up 1-1 with both teams able to take a win, either the Nuggets on the road or Miami Heat at home. Right. So before I get into any further information, discussions, right? Let me cue the intro. All right, what's going on? Right? So you already know what it is, man. It's Cash Media. I'm Cash Media. I know I haven't been on camera for a while, but I'm working on some things. I've been hit with so many different tasks at the same time, but hey, at the end of the day, that don't matter. I got to get on here. I got to talk some ball at least once a week. You know, um, I don't want to keep making promises and stuff. Whenever I can hop on, I hop on. But guarantee, you gonna hear from my voice. You gonna hear from me at any given moment, right? So to add this or to put this out there, also, I did put the link in the comment section. So if anybody wants to tap in, anybody wants to join, anybody wants to talk some basketball, anybody wants to talk about the finals, more importantly, you can chime in. You can hop in or on the stream at any given time, right? So let's get into it, man. Hey, like and subscribe, hit that bell, that notification button, so whenever I go live, you guys can hear from me whenever I do, and then you guys can hop on, right? So Denver versus Miami, game three. Not gonna lie, it's gonna be another exciting one. I like those first two games um, in Denver. I didn't get a chance to catch the whole game. I was only able to catch the highlights because I was in class at that time. But from what I had looked or from what I had saw, Denver for pretty much the story all year. Nikola Jokic, right? He's clearly the best player on the court. Denver is the number one offense in the league, proving themselves to be the team to beat, right? They've been one of the hardest teams to beat, the hardest teams to defend. And a big part of that is because of Nikola Jokic, right? He's doing his thing. I know I've had my criticism in the past. I felt like I wouldn't say all, but definitely a good portion of criticism was well deserved. And some of those criticisms were, uh, having to be in that moment and step up, right? Now we're seeing it in the progress. The thing about it is, my stance is that the Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and these guys, MPJ, KCP, all of them, right? You have to cash out. You got to cash the check. You can't bounce. It needs to be there in full. The numbers need to be on the check, right? It needs to be written out to the Denver Nuggets if it goes down in that direction. Right now, in the case of Miami Heat, I'm going to reference this last game in game two. Miami Heat had came out with a different competitive fervor in that game. If you understand where I'm coming from, right? Miami Heat in that first game didn't start off on the best foot. That wasn't the case in game two. Completely different game, right? They were more aggressive on defense. They were locking guys down. They weren't giving role players easy shots or letting them get to their shots, right? Executing their defensive scheme. And not only that, Miami Heat's offense flourished better this game than in game one, right? So, And a big part of that is because of the shooting, right? The Miami Heat had shot better in this game than they did in the first one. And so with this Miami Heat team, I feel like it's very easy, or just in this finals in general, right? I feel like it's very easy to just kind of pick the Denver Nuggets to win the series, right? I think most logical people would pick the Denver Nuggets to win this series. I wouldn't make a strong argument to say that Miami Heat would be winning this series over the Denver Nuggets, a team in the Denver Nuggets, right? That's been playing top level efficiency basketball all season round, right? But there's just something that's just keeps crawling, you know, just crawling up the ladder. And it just so happens to be the Miami Heat, led by Jimmy Butler, right? Doing his thing, beating the odds, showing, giving a Cinderella type story going on here with them being overwhelming underdogs. I know you guys have heard it plenty times before. Miami Heat being the eighth seed, getting blown out by Atlanta Hawks. In Miami, by the way. Right? And then beating the number one seeded team in the league at that, in the Milwaukee Bucks. Now we know that Giannis had gotten injured. We can fumble that, we can debate that. You can argue that till the cows come home. But at the end of the day, Miami Heat won that series, moved on to round two, beat the New York Knicks, moved on to the Western Conference Finals, and then beat the Boston Celtics in Game 7, which we all know, what went down in that situation, right? So with this game being in Miami, I expect Miami to have the same competitive energy that they had in the last game. It's going to be at home, right? They're a lower seeded team. Jimmy Butler hasn't played particularly well in the shooting area in these past couple games. Now, don't get me wrong. Jimmy Butler has put up points when it mattered. He's done things when it mattered, which is what makes Jimmy Butler 1,000 times more valuable in the playoffs, right? Jimmy Butler's his averages go up. He goes from a 20 point per game score, 21 point per game score, to a 28, 27 point per game score. I mean, put it like this, right? Jimmy Butler, during the regular season, has 0 40-point games in the season. This season in particular, I wouldn't go as far as to say that he hasn't had a 40-point game in the regular season. I'm pretty sure he does, but I'm just trying to simplify as much as possible because I don't want to be giving wrong shit. But as far as this season is concerned, Jimmy Butler has not had a 40-point game this season. Now, throughout his career, now that might be the case. That really might be the case, right? But switching to that, Jimmy Butler has the most 40-point games out of all the players that's played in the playoffs. You guys hear that? You guys comprehend that stat? Jimmy Butler has 0 40-point games during the season. But in the playoffs, he's given you the most 40-point games out of all active players. Truly phenomenal. I'm not going to lie to you. He tried to get up on the podium with a little press conference trying to persuade us that there's no such thing as playoff Jimmy. But I'm not going to lie, man. Those numbers alone state otherwise. I feel like that's the overwhelming proof right there. Moving on to that, because we know what Jimmy Butler can give, even if he's not doing it on the scoring end. Jimmy Butler is an all-around player, right? He's not the most profound rebounder, but we know he can go out and get it. We know he's not the best playmaker, but we know he can involve his teammates. And then even with Bam Adebayo, right? Another anchor on this team, described as the defensive anchor for the Miami Heat. And not only that, people were sleeping on what Bam was going to do in this series. And I feel like in these past two games, I think Bam deserves a lot more credit than people really let on, right? People were trying, he had a bad couple games, in that Celtics series during that 3-game stretch where Boston won 3 straight games to take it to game 7. Bam didn't have more than 20 points in those 3 games. But in just the past 2, he's had more than 20. Right? First game, he had 26, even though they lost. He had 21 the last game, and those were integral to the Miami Heat's success and why they won that game. Right? He was a part of that. And not only that was the defensive assignment. Now, I know the biggest topic, or one of the topics, or one of the conversations that we had were Bam being able to guard Nikola Jokic, being able to sustain Nikola Jokic. Now, I'm going to tell you this now. You are not going to be able to lock down Nikola Jokic. Bam will not be able to lock down Nikola Jokic, right? It is what it is, man. The best players are going to play like the best. But here's my thing on a situation like this, right? When you have the best player, when you have somebody who can kill you in so many different ways, best thing to do is limit them. Make them one-dimensional. And I think that was the case for Miami in game 2. Right? I don't think the plan essentially was to force Jokic to score. I don't think that was, that was the approach or the mindset to go into the game and say, just leave Nikola Jokic to score. So I can see and understand Eric Spoelstra's perspective when he says it's not really like a high IQ take to believe that you can force Nikola Jokic to just be a scorer. I think more so the assignment was, don't let anybody else kill you. Don't let anybody else take over the game. And I think that's an important part also, when it comes to this Denver Nuggets offense, right? Nikola Jokic has been he has a losing record when he scores 40 or more points. I think that's a very important thing to take away, because if he's not getting assists, what is he doing? He's passing, right? You had a bunch of guys in game 2. They were not being able to knock down their shots. Michael Porter Jr. particularly, he did not have a great game. He only had 5 points, 6 rebounds. He was 2 for 8 on the floor and only made 1 3 in that game with no assist. He had the worst plus minus in that game, shooting 25% from the field and 16% from three. Now, there's other things to take away also. KCP didn't play all that well also, and he fouled out. He was the other player that had a minus 14 in the starting lineup. He shot 25% on the floor also, but doubled MPJ's 3-point percentage with 33%. Right? So these are your guys. These are the sort of guys that have to step up, right? Aaron Gordon, he had a better first game, but this time around, Miami Heat weren't willing to give up the easy looks, the easy shots that he was being able to get in that first game. Now, I'm not trying to just talk all about Miami Heat because I do want to touch up on the Denver Nuggets. I mean, I kind of was, but let me get into my other spiel. Right? Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray didn't play that aggressive all that well. He didn't play up to the standard that we had seen him perform at, in previous situations. But I think, that's heavily contributed to, how the Miami Heat wanted to approach the situation, how they wanted to go about concealing this offense, trying to make them work for their shots instead of getting the shots that they wanted. Right? Miami Heat is one of the best zone defenses in the league. Well, they're one of the best defensive teams in the league, period. Right? They have the personnel to guard you in either zone or man. Right? They can finish at the rim. They can rebound to an extent. The number one thing that they can't do is shoot on a consistent basis. Now, if you were talking about playoffs, that's the Miami Heat has been probably the best team, in that category when it comes to shooting. Right? Just in that last game alone, in game 2, Miami Heat shot 49% from three. 49% from three. Right? Miami Heat, one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the league during the season. This is a span of over 80. This is a span of 82 games. And mind you, the Heat are doing this without Tyler Hero in their lineup. Right? So going on to game 3, right? If Denver wishes to rebound, I think the formula is pretty cold, cut, and clear. The role players got to step up, right? It's pretty clear that the Denver Nuggets, in order for them, to succeed and take either one game or both games on the road, these role players certainly have to step up, right? MPJ, he's going to have to play better. There's been plenty of shows, plenty of analysts, plenty of takes on him having to be a little bit more aggressive, helping out in other areas, and just being a better off the ball player, right? KCP, he quite literally was helping them lose that game with him being fouled out, fouling 3-point shooters on the perimeter while they're attempting to take a shot. Right? They were, however way you want to judge it, there may or may not have been, some questionable calls. Right? So that's just the bottom line with the Denver Nuggets. I mean, they got to come out there showing that they want it. I mean, everybody knows that the Denver Nuggets are clearly a better team on paper. But what I see, though, man, I see a Miami Heat team that's competing, right? They're not giving up. You got Duncan Robinson draining threes. He hadn't played damn near half the season. Fresh legs draining threes. And then there's a very, very good chance that Tyler Hero just might be returning for game three. Now, we don't exactly know until the information comes out and it's official. Oh, well, I believe I'm looking it up right now, and they say he is not cleared uh, for game three. Now, I am looking on NBA Central. This came out 4 hours ago, so I just don't know, how legit this source is. I do see a lot of information stating that he is not cleared to play. Um, but I think in this situation, they're just not trying to rush him. If Miami Heat can take this game three, then I think it would be best to just have him back for game four, right? Toss toss the dice, roll the dice, see what happens. But in these final series, it's so crucial because even though you can have that mindset and think in a way where, you know what, all right, let's play without one of our best shooters, the sixth man of the year, a 20-point per game score. Let's play without him and see if we can take it. Now, I'm not saying that's Miami Heat's mindset, but the thing about it is, what I'm saying is they're not thinking in the fashion that I just stated previously from my last statement. So basically, what I'm saying is they would rather have Tyler Hero this next game than rather wait for him in game four. They'd rather play with him than without him. Bottom line, right? I think that's very clear and very understandable, right? But you got to play with what you got. And that's what Miami Heat has been doing. Nuggets, on the other hand, have been healthy for a better part of the season, for most of the season. And then so we're going to see how the outcome, we're going to see what the outcome is like. Now, if you guys are tuning in, let me know, man. What do you guys think? Who takes game three? Does Denver take game three or does Miami take game three? Now, me personally, right? I'm not gonna lie, it's hard for me because I do want to pick Denver. I'm not gonna lie to you. I do want to pick Denver as the favorites heading into this game. But going into Miami with that energy from the crowd, with how this team has played on the road, Miami Heat has quite literally been one of the hardest places to play in these playoffs, right? If I'm not mistaken, they've protected home court for the better part of the season, right? They've protected home court with the Bucks, with the Knicks. They gave up some games to the Celtics, but ultimately they closed it out on the road because that's what champions do, or that's what teams who inspire to be champions, that's what they do. Either close out on the road or win on the road. Right? Miami Heat has done that this whole playoffs. Same can be said about the Denver Nuggets, right? They closed out some big games on the road. I could talk about that Timberwolves series, but it's not really that important to me. uh the Sun series, right? That big game that they closed out um in game 6. They need to get that out the way. And then obviously, the Denver Nuggets sweeping the Los Angeles Lakers. Right? So my thing here is, here's how I would say how it plays out. here's how I here's how I think it would play out. I'm gonna pick Miami to win this game. I know, I know. If I had people on here, they're gonna look at me and be like, "Man, you just hating on the Denver Nuggets again." I can hear it in their voice saying the same thing over and over. Hey, man, I'm just trying to step out the frame, give a different outlook, give a different take, right? And the reason I have Miami winning this game is because, for one, it's the first game at home. Two, Jimmy Butler has not had um, a great playoff game scoring wise in a minute. Even though his points can say otherwise, he can put up maybe, he can score in the 20s, but that's not to say, if he's efficient, right? He had a calm 21 in that last game, but he still shot 36% from the field. But the big difference in Jimmy Butler's scoring output was the fact that he shot 40% from three. And those were big shots at that. So I can see in this game maybe offensively, this playing a little bit different for him. And I can probably see Caleb Martin having a better game. Now, will he have the type of games that he had in Boston? Probably not. But I don't see him scoring 3 points. I can see Max Strus chucking up them threes as he did previously in game 2. And then with the Nuggets, right? I have no reason to think that Nikola Jokic is going to have a bad game. Like I said, I'm not going to be on that time, man. He's going to get his numbers. I think Jamal Murray has a better game this time around. But it's going to be very interesting how this Nuggets offense responds to the competitiveness of this Miami Heat defense. And with them being at home too. Right? Now, the reason why I have the Denver Nuggets losing this game is because I'm still on the hunt, for these Denver Nuggets role players. Right? Now, I know for a better part of the year, they've played well all year. MPJ, Aaron Gordon, KCP, excluding the stars, right? They've played at a good, decent level. But my take in the past is that, they're still fresh in a situation like this. Not KCP. We know he's been here before. He was on that 2020 Los Angeles Lakers team that won the championship. He had a big part, in the Lakers' success with him being a two-way player. And now he's knocking down 3-pointers for the Denver Nuggets. But here's my thing, though. With KCP, I think offensively, you can really limit his play once you guard him at the rim. I know he's a tall guy. It's probably hard to defend. His shot is water. He has an effective field goal percentage of 80%. So basically, if he's open, he's draining that three. But the thing about it is, Miami Heat, I believe, is going to be disciplined enough to know not to leave him at the perimeter. He's probably going to have a better game. I'll give you that. I'll give him that. He'll have a better game, but I don't think it'll be that much better. If he had 5 points, he might have just a little over 10. But it's really important, to note and observe, how these role players are playing on both teams. On both teams, right? And so, even though we don't know what we're going to get from Miami Heat offensively, and we have a pretty good idea of how Denver is going to play offensively, but the question is the other side of the ball for each guy, for each team. Now, I might have said that wrong, but I'm going to put it like this. We don't know what to expect from Denver defensively, and we don't know what to expect from the Heat offensively. We have a pretty good idea, but it's all about execution. It's all about finishing it through. We know Denver can score, but they gotta lock down. It's not just about Jimmy. It's not just about Bam. You're having different guys contribute to this Heat offense. It's not because of Jimmy that this team shot 49% from three. It's not because of him. He shot 40% from three that game, but that's not to say he didn't take 5 3-pointers. Those are just threes that they needed to make. But still, you had Strus shoot 40%. You had Kevin Love shoot just under 40%, right? Shooting 33%. Not great, but that's because he was 2 for 6. Gabe Vincent shooting 4 for 6, 66% from three. Kyle Lowry, 2 for 3. In that last game, 66%. Caleb Martin, right? He only had 1. And he shot 2. And then Duncan Robinson, 10 points. Probably the most efficient player, percentage-wise, on that Heat offense. Shot 80% from the floor, 66% from three. Right, so it's going to be a very interesting matchup between these two teams because they're quite literally polar opposites. That's the way I see it. They're polar opposites. And even though Denver Nuggets are an easy team to pick, I think going into this game, they have a lot of pressure on them. So it wouldn't surprise me if Denver Nuggets do come out of this game. Honestly, I think this is going to be another tight one. It's going to be another close game. And I'd say it finishes within 5. I think this game finishes within 5 points. So it's gonna be a close one for sure. Don't get me wrong. As far as the Denver Nuggets adjustments, it's just about them being more disciplined. Going the extra mile, not getting caught up in your head. For example, if you're not knocking down shots, if you're not making your three, if you're not getting your looks, you can contribute in other ways. You can hound for the rebounds. You can set picks. You can help out on D. You can run back on D. Those are the things that essentially build up to winning basketball, right? And so we're going to see which role players are going to come up most. Because honestly, I see it as plain as day. Denver Nuggets are trying to make sure Jimmy Butler does not go in takeover mode, but at that sacrifice, these role players are starting to seize those opportunities, grab the bull by the horns when they could, imposing themselves even when they're down. I'm not gonna lie, man. This is gonna be a finals to really watch and see and to observe and to absorb any small detail that can have great effect on the game, or at least in this series. Now, if you guys are tuning in, man, hey, like and subscribe, show some support, man. It's free. Hop on the panel. The link is in the comment section. You guys can tap in and join whenever you guys feel like it. But hey, man, drop a like, subscribe, hit that bell, that notification button so you guys can tune in every time on the panel. Right? So I'm glad you guys, were able to at least sit here and hear me out, hear what I had to say. Yeah, but there it goes, man. I got Heat in 5 in game 3 because I at least have Miami winning 2 games in this series. At that point, it's up in the air. It's up in the air, and then I would have to feel the tempo out. I would have to see how that game finishes out. Then, I might have a different perspective, you know? But yeah, man, speaking from the prediction, I do have Miami in 7. But like I said, man, I only did that just to just to step outside of the box, give a different perspective. Trust me, I'm not strong on that position on my position. I just wanted to throw something out there. Be the guy that's on the side for the Miami Heat. Give some respect to how they're playing. But trust and believe, man, I would not be surprised if Denver wins this. I mean, relatively speaking, they are the number 1 seed in this matchup. Miami Heat is the number 8 seed in this matchup. It's been repeated over and over and over again. On paper, Denver Nuggets are supposed to be better than this team. But here's the thing about it, though. Miami Heat has a different grit to them. They have something that Denver really didn't have all year. And it's on the defensive end of the ball. Right? And that's not to say the Denver Nuggets haven't played better defensively in the playoffs. They certainly have. But it's not at the level of Miami Heat for a team that has it embedded in their culture. They know it's at stake. They understand what's important. Both teams do. Not trying to knock either one of them. But my point is, even though the Denver Nuggets have a guy like Aaron Gordon, time to time Jeff Green, but he's not a consistent starter. He's not receiving a good amount of minutes. Bruce Brown can impose himself on the defensive end wherever he can. I wouldn't say Jamal Murray's a lockdown defender, but he can do some things here and there. We already know his where he's most dangerous is on offense. His shot creating ability, being able to make tough shots. That wasn't the case last game. It wasn't the first game, but not last game. And so I don't think Jamal Murray's going to play that poorly again. But when I look at guys like Aaron Gordon, KCP, MPJ, Bruce Brown, even though I know these guys are good players, I gotta see these guys come up in the moment to convince me. Great players play. We know Jokic is gonna do his thing. It's just more so the role players of the Denver Nuggets. Can they compete with Miami's role players? Remember, Miami Heat has been as good as they are because of their role players. They feed off of Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. These guys like Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin, Kyle Lowry, right? These aren't guys that are in the same conversation of what Denver Nuggets have. If we're speaking generally. But in these playoffs, they've been one of the best role players, if not the best role players in the league, and doing it on both ends of the court, or doing it on both ends of the ball. I've repeatedly said that the Denver Nuggets defense concerns me. I question it to a level of degree. It's not as bad as I thought it was before. But going against a younger, somewhat younger, and an aggressive offensive style play, like Bam Adebayo is gonna try to finish at the rim, shoot at the key. Y'all already know what I'm talking about. Bam heading near the free throw line, either pulling up a jumper, a floater, a turnaround. Maybe not so much a turnaround, but you already know he's giving that sort of KG type spot up shot right at the key. So it's really these other guys that we really have to pay attention to, not just the stars. These role players would quite literally make or break the game. As crazy as that sounds, we know the stars got to play. It's the finals. Great players got to play great, but your role players got to play good. They got to fill in the roles and the objectives. They got to fill in the holes that the stars can't fill when they can't. I.e., Caleb Martin in the last series, Duncan Robinson from the arc, right? Gabe Vincent. In this series alone, he's averaging 21 points against the Denver Nuggets, right? So when I bring up things like this is concerning, at least for the Denver Nuggets defensively. So I just don't believe the Denver Nuggets have the defensive versatility to guard a team that's making all their shots. But, my opinion can still change. There's still a lot of basketball left to be played. And to be honest, I can't wait to see how this turns out. I can't wait to see what direction this game will be headed in. Right? So there it is. There goes my little spiel for today. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in to Cash Media, where we talk all ball, basketball. Like and subscribe, man. Show some love. It's free. Hit that bell, that notification button, so you guys can tap in on the platform, on the panel, and talk some ball. We get raw in here. No pun intended. Right? So thank you guys for tapping in. I appreciate you guys. And have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you. And enjoy the game tomorrow, too. Enjoy the game tomorrow. All right, y'all. Y'all be easy. Thank you. Once again, this is Cash Media.